today we're going to go over some stuff that you already know. You're going to go over some stuff that you don't know. And the stuff that you don't know is going to challenge your thinking and put you on a pivot point, because it's first going to evoke some thought, then it might evoke some challenging behavior, like, hold on a second, my doctor said this, my doctor said that. We want to just look at what the information is, start to look at it logically. If it makes sense to you, apply it. If you want to take my word for it, you can, or if you want to find somebody else's word, I'll show you where I obtain this information. I promise I'm not thinking this stuff up. I research it, I reciprocate it, and everything I go over today is stuff that I incorporate into my health, my family's health, and that's important, because when we look at this, the biggest thing we have to question first is the why. Why is it that we are reviewing this information? Why is it that we're looking to improve our health? A lot of times we say that we're doing this for us, right? This year I'm going to take some time for me. I want to review things for myself. In all reality, if you're doing it just for yourself, you're going to fail, because if you do it for yourself, it's easy to let yourself down. You can talk yourself back off the ledge. But if you do it for somebody else, like your child, your spouse, then it's going to really have a better outcome. When we look at this, you have to look at where you're at health-wise, what you're happy with, what you're not happy with. If you've been labeled by doctors with a disease, if you've had certain areas that are just not improving on blood scores, let's look at some things that obviously aren't working. And the biggest thing is that if you are successfully harboring or successfully managing a disease, then doing what you've been doing so far isn't working. To manage disease is a really, really unfortunate thing. Just like managing weight or managing something you're not happy with, we want to change those areas and put you on a pivot point. A lot of the information on why I look at these things as a responsibility. In the past, before having a family, I would do things selfishly for myself. I would eat healthy to look good in the summertime. I would exercise to have big arms. I would do these things to benefit nobody but myself. As I had my son, I started to shift my focus, because my goal is that my responsibility is in his health. If his health fails, I can blame it on a label. I can say, don't worry, he has this ailment, this condition, and that's a way for me to take the blame off of myself, because really, if his health sucks, it's my fault. Now, the thing is, though, is that when you think of it like this, you got to really look at yourself as holding yourself accountable. My goal for my son is to have him never go into a doctor's office unless there's an emergency, for him never to have a drug, to never have a medication in his body, not because we are against medicine, but because we are against the lack of health. We want to see health improvements in every person. So my why for all of this is that my goal is to be healthy for my family, so I can be there at an old age, but also to make sure that I set my son up for his best health potential. So as we go through this today, let's look at some things that are failing us first, right? We got to start looking at some areas. When we look at this, the sad reality is, now the standard American diet, we have to look at this, right? Our diet is literally killing us in this country. We look at the average person, and the average person in our society has weight problems, has metabolic issues, has pain issues. Our health is really, really poor in our society. Now we're going to make some room for everyone, don't you worry. This is why you show up early. No, I'm just joking. So here's the thing. When we look at this first, let's look at the medical model that we're living in. Right now, all of us participate in one model. You go to your doctor, you get diagnosed, you take medications, and the medications just increase as your age progresses. It's normal for most people to have health issues. And if I just said normal, I was trying to get a little reaction, because it's common. It's not normal to have any health issues. When we look at this, your doctors, though, they bring you through lab testing in certain areas. They teach you how to harbor certain illnesses. So if you're a diabetic, your doctors teach you how to maintain diabetes. They teach you how to take metformin. They teach you how to inject yourself with insulin. They teach you then how to walk with an orthotic, because when we look at these things, medical model is there for a different purpose. Your doctors went to school for pharmacology, for pathology, to study disease, for crisis situations. When you have an injury, when you have a trauma, your doctors are trained to help you through that crisis. But now, because none of us focus on our health that much, our doctors now are maintaining preventable diseases, disease that can be corrected through lifestyle changes. So your doctors aren't the enemy. They're the ones who are trying to catch up to this whole cycle of people not improving their health. So the medical model is not for prevention, not for the treatment, it's for getting us out of a crisis. When you look at the diagnosis of a disease or a dis-ease of the body, a diagnosis is done for one reason. It's malpractice. If I don't let you know that an organ is failing, and if I don't identify the name of that failure, you may have an issue that is not corrected. And over time, if you die from that disease, I'm now, as the doctor, managing that area and I'm responsible for it. So understand that heart disease, diabetes, cancer, autoimmune disease, anything is just a label. It's an accumulation of symptoms put together to identify a problem. If you look at it, maintaining a disease, is it good or bad? I mean, if I successfully maintain diabetes for 50 years, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad.
It's bad, right? Because if I have a diagnosis of diabetes, why not get to the cause of the problem, correct it, and get out of that category? If maintaining disease isn't good, if we're maintaining it, then at least we're doing something, right? Because I hear this a lot of times, well, at least I'm taking my medicine, because we all know that one person who has disease doesn't take their medicine, doesn't improve their lifestyle, and we obviously see the ramifications. Medicine is good. It is a crutch to get through the problem. But if you take medication long term, it is simply an excuse to never get to the cause of the problem for most conditions. Now, I've seen patients get into accidents, have injuries, been born with uniquenesses to where they need medicine to live a high quality of life. That's not what we're talking about. When we look at this, if you have and take medication, are you going to be healthier or sicker? And that's a huge thing. So a lot of people think by taking blood pressure medication, you'll healthier than if you didn't. Well, you not only still have the high blood pressure, but now you're taking a medication. Medications are toxic and in all environments. Now, if we were to take the blood pressure medication and let's say give it to a child, maybe that child has a familial history of blood pressure issues, right? Everything's genetic now. If we took that medication and gave it to a healthy child, would it make that child healthy or sick? Make them sick, right? So if we have a healthy child and we give them medication and it makes them sick, how is it going to make a sick person healthy? And that's a huge thing, because when we look at medication, it is necessary for certain things, but I'm going to take you away from this and start to teach you how to apply these things better. Here's the thing, cost. A lot of people say eating healthy, exercising, doing chiropractic care is expensive. Let's look at the cost and ramifications of having health issues. Because most of us focus our entire lives with work. I'm going to get that pension, I'm going to work until retirement, then I'm going to get that medical for life, it's going to be paid for. Well, here's the thing, all of our focus is medicine. And that's the thing, is that health insurance covers nothing with your health, it covers only with the management of disease. And that's what's really important, is that we want to keep you to an area of health to where, yes, it's more expensive initially, but it's way cheaper in the outcome. And you really can't put a price on your life. That's what's really important. You got to get to the cause. The cause is in the cure itself. And we're going to get into this. The cause of your problems is not because of your age, not because of your ethnicity, not because of what your parents did. There is always a cause to this problem. When we look at things, though, we are always in an environment that are super hard to review. Look at the flu season this year. Every single year, the flu pandemic, the epidemic, whatever you want to call it, gets worse and worse and worse every year. It's more on the radio, more on television. I swear, like every time I go to Rayleigh's, I get more and more of a percentage off my purchase that shopping trip if I get a flu shot, but yet people are getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So logic would assume, if I were to put something into my body, right, whether I'm eating an apple, eating some pasta, I'm going to look at the ingredients. And when I look at the ingredients, I'm going to make a decision. Is it good for my health or bad for my health? Is it going to help me to improve my health, or it may hurt some things? When we look at this year, more people got the flu shot this year, and you know what the CDC released? It worked 20% of the time. 20 to 30%. Now, would you all waste your time putting a seatbelt on if you had an accident and they said, well, it might work 20% of the time? The other 20% is going to break. Don't worry, though, because you should still use it. The only opportunity that doctors tell you for flu prevention is the flu shot and staying away from others. Well, if the flu shot only works 20 to 30% of the time, and you can't really harbor yourself inside your home, let's look at a different paradigm. Get to the cause of why your immune system is low and how to improve it. So if we look at these areas, Health is not how you feel. It's not how you look. Because there's a lot of people who look really, really healthy, right? They look attractive, they're muscular. You see these big bodybuilders out there, and these guys are having heart attacks left and right from the supplements that they're taking, the steroids. So if health was how they look, they'd be really healthy. You also see other people on magazines, they're in swimsuits, they have bikinis on, right? A lot of cosmetic surgery. They look perfect, but then they are really, really sick inside. The sickest people I deal with are the ones who look on the outside the best. Now here's the thing, it's not also, if it's not how you feel, it's not how you function, health really is in the word itself. It's your body's ability to heal. If you're able to heal and function at 100%, then your body will heal and adapt. So the thing is that we've got to look at a few things. Number one is that there's 3 top killers in our country. Number one is heart disease. So with heart disease, 1 out of 3 Americans will die of heart disease in their life. So that means out of you 3, 1 of you, out of you 3, 1 of you, out of the 3 in the back, 1 of you. And here's the thing, I'm looking around and it's not going to be me. So statistics are going to be a little bit scary, and it's not meant to scare you. But honestly, if it's 1 out of 3, let's build an action plan to never get heart disease and to never fall victim to this category. And here's the thing, if 1 out of 3 people are dying, how well is the American Heart Association doing with their recommendations? Are you going to trust an organization that is number 1? I mean, think of it. American Heart Association is responsible for heart disease in this country, and yet it's killing 1 out of 3 people. So with all these recommendations, it's tough. At least we know what's not working. Because if their recommendations are medication, nothing to do with nutrition, we know at least that's not working long term. And they'll do studies, they show that like 35% of people who die of a heart attack have high blood pressure. Well, what's even scarier is that 65% of them don't. So when you think that you don't have high blood pressure, which means you don't have a heart disease, that's a big difference right there. This one, cancer, number 2 cause of death. In our country, we've been fighting cancer since Nixon declared war on cancer. Now things are getting better in certain perspectives, people are living longer, but they keep adjusting the numbers. You're a cancer survivor if you live 5 years after your diagnosis. What about 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? People are getting diagnosed with cancer younger and younger and younger. There's got to be a cause. Diabetes, let's look at type 1 diabetes. If you look at the Mayo Clinic, they release information. The Mayo Clinic is like the high standard within medicine. They know that there's no known cause of diabetes for type 1. But what they do know is that the body attacks itself. It attacks the receptors that release insulin into the bloodstream. But what do doctors focus on? They don't focus on the immune system. They don't focus on the cause of the problem. They don't know what's causing it, and they don't know how to cure it. So why manage it with medicine? Why not focus on other areas? And that's my goal, is to shift it up. If you have a diagnosis or an injury, use what your doctors are teaching you in combination with other lifestyle improvements. That way you can get to the true cause of the problem and get this problem corrected. So the problem is your health. And for a lot of us, we're trying to lose weight, trying to get our bodies back into the game. So if your problem's weight, that's one thing. If your problem's blood pressure, diabetes, that's what replaces the problem. You have to analyze how the heck is it that you got there. You have what has worked for you and what hasn't. Then you look at the solution. And in my professional opinion, there's like 5 solutions. We're going to talk about most of these today, but you have to look at how to get your metabolism. Your metabolism is not one organ in your body. And when we look at metabolism, if you have a poorly functioning metabolism, you're definitely not going to lose weight properly. You're definitely not going to be able to have a healthy heart. You're not going to have a healthy lungs, healthy digestive system. Your metabolism, in my professional opinion, is the name of the game. So when we look at this, we have to change some areas that we're going to look into. And we're going to touch through a few of these today. I'm not going to touch bases on all of them because each of them I could talk about for hours on end itself. But when we look at this, when you look at weight loss or you look at health improvements, there's a lot of people who exercise every day who are still overweight. Exercise is a horrible way to lose weight. I'm across from a gym. Do you think that I only see skinny people walking into that gym? Absolutely not. And if you're going to try to exercise weight off, you're going to be in a big, big hurdle, because guess how many calories you have to burn to lose 1 pound of fat? 3,500 calories. That's like running a marathon, 65,000 steps on your pedometer. Good luck. Nobody is walking that much. So if exercise isn't going to work, let's do age. A lot of times people think age is correlated with increased weight. Well, here's the big deal, is that there's a lot of thin people who are super old. I think of my grandpa, he's like 90 years old, the dude's skinny as a twig. Well, if logic was to say age equaled weight, all old people would be fat and all young people would be skinny. But in all reality, we know that most young people are overweight and most older people have discrepancies in their weight too. So it doesn't have to do with these areas, it's your metabolism which is going to get you the best improvements. First thing is you got to look at the mindset. When we look at your mind, this is what caused me a little bit of an issue. The cause is the cure. What the heck does that mean, right? Let's look at heart disease. Well, the cause of heart disease is the cure. So if we look at what causes heart disease, what causes cancer, what causes high blood pressure, what causes weight, whatever causes it will cure the problem. So let's say eating too much causes weight gain. Well, there's no purpose in getting labeled with it. There's no purpose in taking a medication for it. The thing is to look at what caused it. You have to change the way that you view and manage your health. If you look at this and take personal responsibility, if my health is bad, I take full responsibility for what I have done. And I'm going to walk you through what my challenges were once we get into some of the details. But when you do this, you got to confront your problems and you have to take care of you first. A lot of you who are in here, your spouses don't support your changes, nor are they willing to make changes. To me, that means that you better be in good shape because you'll be helping them through their life in the future. I see a lot of couples in here getting chiropractic care. One does phenomenal, one's just doing it because the other one's dragging them in here. Well, that means that that one person who's doing good with health will be taking care of that other person. And in all honesty, our medical model is really good for longevity, but really poor for quality of life. Most people end their last few years in a nursing home, pooping in a diaper, dependent on other people. I change a diaper a couple times a day with my son. It is stinky and really disgusting. I can pick his legs up at least. Now, if I were to have to do this to my mom one day, come on. Anybody who's taking care of an elderly person, it's not easy and it's not fun and it's not humbling. You need to take care of your responsibilities and don't be a victim. Don't be victimized by the condition. Don't blow off an issue because of your condition. Don't say, oh, well, I have this because of this disease. You have to take self-approach. And I'm going to walk you through some of these things that it's so easy because medicine is designed to victimize yourself. I have thyroid issues because of my Hashimoto's, or I have digestive issues because of my diabetes. It's genetic, which means it's not your fault, but really when we look at these things, let's take personal responsibility. And just for a second, it's something to do with what we're doing during the day. When we look at certain supplements, omegas, fish oils are so important for the health of your brain, of your eyes, of your heart in healthy areas such as this. It improves brain function, fights depression. When we look at depression, our country, we take as Americans 95% of the world's medications and we equate 5% of the world's population. We're taking tons of drugs and not very healthy. Antidepressants are huge. They're skyrocketing. People are more bipolar, have anxiety, depression. Well, fish oils are a really big thing. A lot of times the fats that you're eating are really causing these issues. It helps to lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol, promote healthy skin. Fish oils are super important. If you look at ones, there's a lot of different brands. I focus on good brands, ones that are sustainable, to educate doctors on research. I don't find my supplements on Amazon like I do, the toilet paper that I buy for the house. So make sure that you get supplements that are healthy and good. These things are huge. Now these are where we're going to take a little pause at. We're going to focus on some things that all of you came here today for. We're going to focus on revolutionizing your diet. I hate the word diet, and I did this only so I can show you the 3 letters of diet are going to be die. If you focus a diet long term, it's going to be a waste of your time. You want to focus on a lifestyle change. And there's always a million excuses. It's too expensive, it's too hard to follow, my husband won't support it, it's too hard. Let's just for a moment say that we're going to focus on healthy nutrition at 100%. Eating healthy is a good thing, and it's something that takes time. Now, if I was raised eating boxed foods, very preserved, stopping by McDonald's, it's going to be harder for me to change than if I was raised eating organic food, drinking bone broth, eating kombucha, eating all organic. So obviously for my son, who eats this way at a very young age, I'm not going to be saying, Well, Dr. Tim, my son doesn't like to drink bone broth. Well, he won't eat salads. Well, he'll only eat pasta. Well, he'll only eat McDonald's. Well, that's your child running your life, which a lot of times happens, but we don't want to have that occur. Children will eat anything that you put in front of them, but you also have to reciprocate those things yourself. So let's jump into it. First thing is the carbs. When you think of carbs, you think of what? Like potatoes, starches, grains. Here's a really hard thing is that let's look at our standard American breakfast, right? Most of you had breakfast this morning and it contained of some sort of beverage, so either tea, coffee, juice. Juice is as crazy as it sounds, is fruit with all the different pulp and areas taken apart. So juice is just a sugar time bomb setting off. There's more sugar in juice than in most sodas. So when you drink juice, it is a high rush of sugar to your body. I don't care whether it's orange juice, apple juice, pomegranate juice, all juice contains sugar unless it's juice that is made from vegetables. And yes, they do make vegetable juice. You can make it at home. It's very easy. But carbs consist of sugar. You have to eliminate sugar from your diet if you want to get healthy. And you have to eliminate it 100%. The reason we do this is that sugar feeds inflammation. So when we look at inflammation of your arteries, inflammation of your body, there's a lot of people who just look puffy. They're inflamed. And when you're puffy and inflamed, you might have bags under the eye, poofiness around the face, around the abdomen, and you may be trying to lose that same 10 pounds year after year, but then we start to gain that 10 pounds that you lost, and your metabolism gets shorter and shorter. So with carbohydrates, I want you to first identify, where are you getting them? Is it from beverages in your daily aspect? Are you drinking sugary drinks? Now, don't think for a moment that if you've been told that sugar is bad, just to replace it with artificial sweeteners, aspartame, Splenda, those things are as knowledgeably bad for your health as cigarettes are. So if somebody is drinking a diet soda, it's the exact same as if they're smoking a Marlboro. It's the exact same. And if it's thought to be different, you can just take out this device right here, everyone has one, and you can Google aspartame health effects. You don't have to trust me for it. So carbohydrates also come in the form of bread. Every form of bread is bad for unhealthy individuals. Bread can be beneficial if your metabolism's working properly. Now, when I look at breads, there are some breads in my household. I don't consume them personally, but my son does. His body's pretty healthy. He can manage some breads. Now, he consumes sprouted breads. Now, do you think that his bread that I buy him is on the shelf for 3 weeks or in the refrigerated frozen? You're like, hold on a second, bread's in the refrigerator section now? I promise you that yes, it's shelf stable. So the stuff that he buys is in the refrigerator. And yes, it's live and living. The reason being, if you're buying bread that's just on the shelf for 3 weeks, it's not going to be live, it's not going to be living. That's why it grows mold if you leave it inside the cabinet for too long. Bread, if being consumed, should be sprouted. If you take a grain, you have to sprout it so it becomes live and living. Now, there are things about multi-grain, about organic, about all these different things. The biggest thing is it has to be live and living. Now, if you're not healthy and having health issues, you can't eat bread at all in any way, shape, or form. No flour, no bread, no nothing. The reason being is that I used to tell people, oh, moderately reduce it. It's just going to be harboring the issue. You have to eliminate sugar. And even when you're healthy, you shouldn't be consuming sugar anyways. And when I look at this, carbohydrates are ingrained into our society. You can't eat a breakfast at a restaurant. You can't eat lunch at a restaurant. You can't eat dinner at a restaurant without some sort of carb or some sort of bread. So I'm going to walk you through what a normal meal for me will look like, and believe me, I don't have special taste buds. I am eating just like all of you are, but it is possible and very simple to do. You also have to fix your fats. Fat is once thought of is to be a bad thing, right? Fats are really bad. They make us fat. And I grew up in the low-fat, fat-free era. My mom was on a trend. Every granola bar, everything was low-fat, fat-free. Do you guys all remember that? Like back in the late 90s or something? When I look at low-fat, fat-free, that fade went away and it didn't work. And when we look at certain health plans that were like that, it caused a lot of issues within people's health, because lowering the fats are replacing them with hydrogenated oils. So when we look at fats, usually we think of fats to stay away, right? We have non-stick pans, we use canola oil, we use vegetable oil, or we don't use any oil at all. The problem is that oil is hidden in most of our foods. When you look on the back of an ingredients label, you will see hydrogenated this, corn oil, safflower, sunflower. There's oils that are really, really rancid for your health. The oils that are good though are like olive oil, coconut oil, ghee, and I'll talk about ghee as one of my favorites in just a moment, butter from grass-fed animals. So when I look at oils, you have to replace healthy oils because your body, we want it to transition to burning fat for energy. Your body burns sugar or it burns fat. And most of you are sugar burners. There's a reason why when you wake up in the morning, you're cranky. You are not happy because your body has no fuel. You can't function until your first cup of coffee. Well, that first cup of coffee doesn't just have coffee in it. It has sweetener, and that sweetener has sugar, and that's what's giving you that rush. So when your body does not burn fat for energy, it requires a lot more sugar, and sugar or carbs are not good for long-term burning. So when we look at this, fats can be replaced as your primary source of energy. And if you've got extra fat on your body that you want to get rid of, get your body to burn fat versus sugar. So what happens is, let's say first thing in the morning, I eat sugar. My body's gonna burn that glycogen or that glucose. It's gonna burn it very quickly. Sugar is easy to break down. And of course, there's complex and easy chain, carbs out there, but sugar is very, very easy to break down. But as it goes high, you then have a crash. And that's why afternoon before lunch, you're already so tired. You then eat a snack. And that snack is usually sugar containing in itself. It's bread, it's fruit. Maybe you're doing good and eating some vegetables, but then you might be dipping it into some ranch that has sugar, a bunch of rancid fats in it. So you have to look at where in your day. I just went on vacation over the holiday, and I went on vacation with some people who are reciprocating the health transition that I had to go through, and those who aren't. When I see people, people are addicted to food. If they don't have food at a certain time, if they don't have a certain type of food, they break down. And when I was traveling with someone who had to eat every few hours, it totally opened my mind. People are addicted to food. And I'm going to show you how to break that addiction with fasting, because honestly, any addiction is no good. But when we look at this, why does someone scream for food? It's for energy. And it's because most of us are burning sugar as our only source of energy. Now you also have to perfect your proteins. Proteins are generally found in the source of animal products, our meats. So when we look at animal products, when I go to the Nugget or Costco or even other stores, Rayleigh's, Bel Air, Walmart, the animal products are generally fed corn, soy, which if you think about it, cows, happy cows usually come from happy valleys, right? Isn't that the little sales point? When we look at things though, in our country, animals do not eat what their bodies are designed. So when we have a cow, that cow is created to eat one thing, and that's grass, live grass, not dead grass in the form of hay, live grass. Now if we take a cow who's supposed to eat grass, and we say, you know what, that's not economical. Let's go ahead and put them into a feedlot, and let's go ahead and feed them corn and soy. Well, in this country, all corn and soy, or like 95% of it, is genetically modified. And if you guys don't know what GMOs are, or genetically modified foods are, GMOs, genetically modified organisms, you need to do some research and watch some documentaries. Right now, you all are the testing subjects. You're the rat in the cage for knowing if GMOs are safe. Now in other countries, they're kicking Monsanto's out. They're burning down shops. They're saying, no way. In our countries, who cares about it? Go on to something else, right? GMOs are huge. If you're not eating non-GMO, or if you're eating at a restaurant, think of a restaurant as a business. they're going to give you bottom of the barrel food quality. They're going to mix it up, make some wonderful sauces, make it taste good, make it look good, but the quality of the food is not going to be high. Now, I don't have to tell you that McDonald's is low quality and others are high quality, but just think of anywhere you're eating out at a restaurant, you do not know where the quality of food is coming from. So genetically modified foods like corn and soy are being fed to animals, to our chickens, to our fish, to our cows. Then what do we do with that food? Then we break that down and consume it ourselves. Well, in order for a cow to gain a pound of flesh that we would then consume, think of a pound of ground beef, right? They have to eat 10 to 14 pounds of that corn, soy, or grass to produce that weight. So talk about bioaccumulation of toxins. Your animals are 10 to 14 times more toxic than the vegetables that we're eating. So the number one thing that you have to do from a health stance, which is going to have nothing to do with immediate weight loss, is perfect your proteins. You have got to make sure that your animals are grass-fed if you're eating beef. Now, yes, it's more expensive. Stop comparing the two. Apples and apples, apples and oranges, they're different. You do not go to the store and look at the difference between grass-fed meats and conventionally raised meats. You focus on one thing. If the biggest thing you walk away with, eat healthier proteins. And if you have women in your household, it's even more important because hormones don't affect me like they affect women. And that's a really important thing because all of our bodies are different. The other area of proteins is that, like when you look at fish, you want to eat smaller fish on the food scale. So think of like the bigger fishes, right? Dolphins, or the bigger fishes like tuna. These fish are eating all the smaller fish out there in the ocean. So with commercialized fish, and there's some really, really crazy stuff going on, and there's huge arguments, fish are bad, fish are good, mercury. Let's hold off on all those and just look at, hey, eat smaller fish. Now, it's not to say to eat farm-raised fish, because when you eat farm-raised, these animals, have you ever been to like the Nimbus hatchery or the little fish area up in Folsom? These fish are in small enclosed quarters. They're swimming around and circulating with one another. They swim in their own feces. They are not very happy, healthy fishies, right? Here's the thing, then you eat those things. And that's the problem, is that our animals are sick. And that's not a good thing. We want to eat sustainable protein. If you can't afford to eat healthy meat, stop eating meat. It's really simple, at least until you get healthy, and then you can go back to eating those things. You've also got to trash the toxins. Toxins are in all of our foods, right? I like to eat organic every time that I can. But I'm not saying that I eat everything organic because there are things that the government releases with the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. You can find those things online. They're updated every year. There's certain produce that absorbs pesticides greater than others. So if I'm not going to be eating the shell of a fruit or a vegetable, let's say I'm eating an avocado or a melon, then I don't need to eat that organic as much. I can pick and choose. Have you ever seen an organic avocado? They're really, really expensive. So instead, I look at also which ones are really, really pesticide resilient. Ones like spinach, ones like kale, ones like tomato, bell peppers. Those ones take in all of the toxins because you're eating the skin. So when we look at these areas, if you truly want to lose weight and to clean up your metabolism, understand that eating healthy is not going to necessarily make you lose weight. Starving yourself the wrong way is not going to make you lose weight either. There's a lot of different fads, a lot of different things. I did wrestling in junior high and some in high school. They taught us how to have eating disorders the wrong way. They taught us how not to eat, how to put plastic bags on, how to lose 10 pounds overnight. That's not healthy. And studies actually show that it damages your metabolism to where it becomes harder and harder each and every year to lose weight. So around this time, we start to do these crazy plans, right? We all know that one person at work who lost 20 pounds by eating nothing but tomatoes and mayonnaise, and you swear up and down by another person drinks nothing but beer and loses all the weight. Look at first your metabolism. Number one is you have to clean up the carbs. Get rid of all sugar-containing carbs. The only carbs that you should be eating are vegetables, and those vegetables do not include potatoes. That's not a vegetable. You need to be cautious. If you're eating fruit, you can only eat blueberries, blackberries, and Granny Smith apples. Fruits that are low in their sugar content, high in antioxidants. If you're eating fruit and trying to lose weight, it will kick your body right back into sugar burning. Our goal is to eliminate sugar so that your body uses fat. And if you remember from chemistry, there are 9 calories, and calories are energy, 9 calories per gram. So let's say this is sugar and this is fat. Fat has more energy, 9 calories, versus protein and carbs, which have 4 calories. So I can eat less fat and get more energy than these carbs. When I look at today, I teach people how not to eat, because I know for me today, I haven't had anything to eat in the form of real food. I've drinking some stuff, and I'll walk you through what that is, but food should not be eaten first thing in the morning. Tell me that 2 years ago, I would have told you how ridiculous you are, because I ate every 2 hours. And I would tell you that, yeah, carbs are still bad, right? But I'd be shoveling up protein powders, doing the whole thing, bodybuilding style. That stuff's not good for you. But when we look at it, got to eliminate carbs, got to eliminate sugars. And if you're not sure where those are at, start writing down your daily food intake. Start looking at the back of ingredients, like on your salad dressings. Look at the elements of the dressings you put on your food. Sugar is in all of them, and look on the ingredients to see where it's at. Fixing your fats, you have to look at what fats you're putting into your body. I had 4 tablespoons of ghee this morning in my coffee. A lot of you are thinking like, oh my gosh, what the heck is this guy putting butter in his coffee for? I'll walk you through that in a few moments. But with your fats, you have to do nothing but healthy fats. Ghee, coconut oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, healthy oils that are in this. Now you want to eliminate all the hydrogenated oils, partially or fully hydrogenated. You want to eliminate all the trans fats. You also have got to get rid of the vegetable oils and the canola oils. Those things are rancid, and when you put those into your body, they stay in your body for 104 days. That's right. You have a cheat meal once every 104 days, that stuff's staying in you every single time. So when you go out there and have that little French fry, you better hope they're using coconut oil. And there are restaurants who do this, but not many who do. You also need to work on your proteins. There's a big rule in my family. If you guys go out to dinner with us, we don't eat meat at restaurants. The meat is super horrible and disgusting. It's not going to be of good quality, high stature animals. Now there are some in different areas that serve organic, sustainable, non-GMO. That stuff's better. My goal is to have chickens that are free range, meaning they eat bugs on a pasture. My goal is also to make sure that they are eating organic grains and corn that are non-GMO if they happen to be free range or cage free. My goal with my beef is to make sure it's grass-fed organic. And if it's not going to be grass-fed, it better be organic and non-GMO. If I'm eating fish, it has to be wild caught. And I would like to do some research on who's catching my fish, because I would feel better if it was a fisherman throwing a hook out there versus the crazy stuff I see on Facebook where they're shooting jets into the water, hooking up hundreds of animals. That's not the most sustainable for long term. Now when we look at the toxins, I am not going to put a toxin into my body unless I choose to. I like to choose my toxins in a wine glass, have a drink after a long week. I am not going to have a daily dose of toxins unless I permit it into my life, which means I'm going to ask the ingredients, I'm going to look at food labels, I'm going to do all these things. So in all reality, I will get you some walkways. I'll get you guys some literature tonight, because all this information is going in one ear, out the other. The goal is, when you look at your nutrition, you have to get rid of grains and sugars. You have to get rid of them. Even when you're healthy, you want to then maintain and minimize the amount of sugar being brought into your body. If you're going to do sugar, do it in the afternoon, not at night and not first thing in the morning. When you're going to use sugar, make sure it's in the form of a vegetable. Vegetables have carbs, and you don't need carbs to live. There's elite athletes who don't do, this grain thing. The words that you'll hear out there are keto, paleo. These things are all having one thing in common. Get rid of the grains, get rid of the sugars. Now I want to talk to you about some stuff that I've gone through myself. And this is stuff that hits home for me. You're going to notice some nasty, disgusting stuff on these pictures. These are both pictures of me. About 3 years ago, I was involved in a motor vehicle accident. Nothing too crazy, had an accident. And after that accident, I started to notice I had food allergies. I started to notice that after eating certain things that I'd always been able to eat, my body started to flare up in certain ways. My skin had always had issues. As a teenager, I had the acne that was just like nasty boils, just like pepperoni face, nasty stuff. My mom, being a good mom she was concerned. She brought me to the dermatologist, and the dermatologist did what he did. He gave me creams, he gave me lotions, he gave me different things. And as those things didn't work, he then started to prescribe more medication. I'll get into why this is important. But to get back to this is that I started to experience symptoms that I had never seen before. And I really was resilient at first in going to any doctors. You guys know me. I have had infections from coral where I got gangrene because it was left too long. I went to the doctor once it turned gangrenous because that's when it's a crisis. I didn't go beforehand because I thought I could manage it myself. When I started getting this stuff freaked me out, not only because my image to an extent is also what it is that I teach. So who's gonna believe somebody on health when they're having all of these nasty rashes, right? And this stuff was painful. What was happening is my skin was obtaining a staph infection. And the staph infection was living in my body, in my nostrils, it was living in my skin, and it would be flared up at different times. For over a year, I had no clue. It would just come about randomly. After getting very desperate, and for me to get desperate to go to a doctor, a medical doctor, a dermatologist, it was now like last resort. It'd been almost a year and a half of this. I'd learned every way of hiding it, and it was reoccurring. Now, when I went to the doctor, they looked at the infection, filled out a prescription. I said, hold on a second, we're gonna walk through this. We gotta test the infection, we gotta look at what's going on. They tested the infection, they called me back 3 days later. Now, before they called me back 3 days later, they already gave me a medication, which I was like, hold on a second, you're gonna give me a medication without actually testing the bacteria to see what's going on? So anyways, they say, hey, you've got a staph infection. Don't worry, we got an antibiotic to treat the staph infection. Now, hold on a second, is staph the reason why these rashes are reoccurring? Or is staph a residual effect of unhealthy skin which is caused by an underlying gut issue? You've got to think about this. So I went under a course of antibiotics. And for me to go on antibiotics, I swore to myself years and years ago that I would never go back to medicine again because it failed me so many times. I went on medication this time because, you know what, I thought there are times that it is appropriate. I'm gonna use this. Did it one full term of it, right? Nothing changed. Call the doctor back, right? Okay? Second time, oh, you know what, just take it again. Went on a second course of antibiotics. Didn't do anything. Third time, I'm calling the doctor. I'm like, hey, we gotta change something up. It's not working. Well, just take a third one, see what happens, and come back in. Well, this logic is normal, and it's not the doctor's fault. This is what they're taught. They're taught how to treat symptoms. Staph was not the issue. The issue was an underlying skin issue, which the skin issue was an underlying liver issue. So you have to understand, every organ manifests symptoms differently. So once this medicine failed, I said enough is enough. I started researching, doing things. I went and found a functional medicine doctor, a doctor who recommends supplementation and nutrition and replacements of medicine. Now this guy, he's in Idaho. I know him personally, but we never met on over the phone. He tested my blood, my urine, my hair, my stress, and he told me where the underlying metabolic issue was. I followed a nutrition plan that is similar to what I teach here in the office. I did massive and long-term fasting along with intermittent fasting. And over a course of 3 years, I was able to heal my body to where now I can go back and indulge in things that once gave me a rash. Now here's the thing, the reason I share this with you is that the skin was just a symptom. When I go back in time, how the heck did I lose and damage my liver? I mean, when I first started getting this, I was like in my late 20s. So I'm thinking, how the heck did I damage my liver? Well, when I was in high school, I was on Accutane. Any of you know who Accutane is? It's a horrible, disgusting drug that should never be given to children. Number one is I was never old enough or smart enough or knowledgeable enough to look at the side effects. And if I would have seen that liver issues are huge. Now, when I was taking Accutane, I wasn't the most responsible. I was told as a teenager that you can't do certain things. And in all reality, I know high school, I was having a good time doing exactly what I wasn't supposed to be doing. If my mom knew everything I did in high school, she wouldn't be happy. So here's the thing, I was not living a healthy lifestyle, taking medication that was really, really detrimental, it damaged my liver, and I will have nonstop liver issues, most likely for the rest of my life. Now, when I look at this, this is a godsend, because without this identification, the reason why this flare-up happened was because I had a trauma, whether it's a physical, chemical, or emotional stressor. These stressors then irritate the body and express symptoms that would have manifested way down the road. So I bring this to you not to brag. I hope that I never have to go through this again. It was horrible, painful, and it was really, really a rough situation. Now, the reason I bring this to you is this is my new mode and new model of improvement with nutrition. My goal today is to have each and every one of you not only eat the way that I was talking to you about, that's like the basic. That's what I was doing before I had these skin issues. Now, afterwards, I started to do fasting. And fasting is the one thing that at first I was telling everyone in the world, I'm doing fasting, I haven't eaten for 5 days, I don't eat breakfast. Don't tell people everything that you do, right? It's something like, oh my God, you don't eat breakfast? And of course, these are people who are judging me who are like on 10 medications, 100 pounds overweight, not really knowing what's going on. So I want to talk to you about fasting and how this is one of the things that truly changed my life in combination with everything I was already doing. I was already getting adjusted. I was already eating healthy. I already had a good mindset. My mindset saved me from having unnecessary symptoms and diseases, but also not going to the dermatologist and just saying, hey, I have psoriasis. Let me teach you how to maintain psoriasis for the rest of your life. Don't clean up your food, take a steroid cream on your skin. Or let's say it was eczema, or it was acne, or it was rashes. All these labels do nothing. They just teach you how to harbor and maintain the disease. Fasting is simple. You fast to where your body starts to leach out energy from fat. When I look at my body analytics about a year ago, I had roughly about 35 pounds of fat on my body, right? I was about 18% body fat. Now, at this moment, I'm about 10%, and that gives me about 2% wiggle room, so I know I'm gonna be safe. Most of you have like 50 or 60 pounds of body fat that you can burn very well. So here's the thing, what does your body use for energy when you're eating healthy? Fat. If you've got a bunch of extra fat, if you've got sugar issues with like diabetes or other issues, you can stop eating as much food, and I'm going to walk you through it. The thing that I teach people most is not to stop eating for long periods of time, to not do this without consulting your doctor. In all reality, I don't know why you'd consult your medical doctor about fasting anyways, because they know nothing about it. Just like I don't know why you would consult me about a medication when I don't teach pharmacology. You got to look at these things. You have to do research yourself, because honestly, if you looked at the side effects from the drugs you're taking, you probably wouldn't take them every single day willingly anyways. So when we look at fasting, I'm going to teach you how to stop eating breakfast. That's a huge thing. No more eating breakfast. Breakfast, do you know who told you that was the most important meal of the day? It was Dr. Quaker with Quaker oatmeal. He's the first one who started creating this. He teamed up with doctors and did exactly what dentists did with brushing your teeth and dental checkups. You realize that with the dental industry, there's never been a study to show going in for 2 cleanings a year does anything for our teeth. Look at most of your teeth. I take x-rays of a lot of you. You all have amalgams, all have root canals, all have issues. But yet you brush your teeth 2 times a day. You go to the dentist every 6 months. Who told you that? Well, Crest, a few years back, like in the 50s and 60s, Crest teamed up with the National Dentist Society, right? And they said, hey, we'll endorse your stuff if you just go ahead and tell people in your advertisements to get their teeth checked 2 times a year. Now it's the standard. People who, if I go, I don't take my son to the dentist, they're gonna look at me like I'm punishing them or something, right? So food, same thing. There's no research to show that breakfast is the most important meal. So let's look at this. If I don't eat breakfast, if I'm not eating certain days out of the week, like when I went to Mexico a few weeks ago, I had a good time. I still eat the same, I still go shopping, I still make sure we eat organic. I'm not going crazy and eating crazy stuff, but I did have other indulgences that I may not have had. I had breakfast a few days. I think we had pancakes one morning, and believe me, I didn't allow for the little box pancake mix. We went to the store and bought organic, grain-free, gluten-free pancake mix. Even in Mexico, you can find this stuff. But here's the thing. Let's talk about some benefits. Fasting is safe for everyone, except for children and pregnant women. And even though you can do it for both of these, nobody's going to say take that on as a liability. So if you're pregnant or a child, close your ears and listen to something else. Fasting. Number 1 is it helps to regulate insulin. Insulin resistance equals diabetes, all right? Insulin resistance is not something you're born with. Insulin resistance is your body attacking itself. If you stop putting in sugar, you will stop burning sugar this way. Another thing is it activates growth hormone. Growth hormone makes you stronger, makes you better. There's a lot of men who inject this or put it onto their body topically to increase stamina and muscular growth. It also helps to accelerate weight loss. Well, the less you eat, the more your body's gonna burn, as long as you don't bring in sugar. If you do fasting and you eat sugar, it's gonna destroy it and make it super, super dangerous. Because as soon as you incorporate sugar into a fasting daily routine, your body will then want more sugar, and when it doesn't have it, it will take sugar from protein, a process called gluconeogenesis. And with that, then you start to become emaciated, gaunt in the face, very thin. Do not use sugar on a fasting diet. It improves energy. If you all haven't noticed, I don't take Adderall or anything, I promise. My energy is because of the food that I take. But also it helps to aids in the microbiome. Microbiome is your gut health. Your gut or your digestive system is the second largest neurological element in your body. So your gut is like the second brain in your body. And that's why as a chiropractor, one of the biggest things I influence is the gut, because of the relationship in the immune system neurologically with the nervous system. It also helps to repair leaky gut. If any of you have skin allergies, you have issues on the back of your neck, if you have any rashes or bumps, especially after you eat certain foods or drink certain things, you have a leaky gut, which in all simplicity means stuff's leaching out of your gut into your bloodstream, causing an allergic reaction. Now, you all know that person who has like celiac disease, right? Usually kids can't have gluten. Well, if I have celiac disease and I just stop eating gluten, is gluten the cause of celiac? No. Gluten exacerbates a condition in which they call celiac. So if I don't eat gluten, I'm still harboring and maintaining a digestive issue, which is a bad idea. You want to get to the underlying cause. Leaky gut, most of you have an issue with. It also gives the GI tract a more dominant and downtime area. Helps it to relax. Think of it. We weren't out running around in mountains with little mallets in our hand, caveman style, eating every 2 hours. We ate in certain times, fasted in certain times, and that's what we want to focus on. Now, the teachings that I'm going to go through today, simple. We're going to do 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. Super, super simple. Here's what we do. We wake up in the morning, okay, midnight to 8 a.m. Nobody really wakes up at 8 unless you're in a perfect world, but let's say you sleep midnight to 8 a.m. You're sleeping and not eating anything, right? 8 a.m. to noon, you don't eat breakfast. You wake up, and I'll teach you some fasting foods, and I'm gonna let you know right now we're running over a little bit of time, so if anybody has to leave in an hour, we're running up pretty close to that. We're gonna go like an hour and 10, hour and 15. So with this, fasting during breakfast, then during noon and dinner, you eat in an 8-hour window. So let's say that I wake up at 6 o'clock, and I eat my first meal at noon. If I eat my first meal at noon, when do I have to eat dinner by? 8 p.m. So I eat only in an 8-hour window. The reason being is I have 16 hours of my day and night in which my body is fasting. So that's huge because right now my body's in a fat burning state. Fat is where your toxins are housed. It's where disease is harbored. We want to lower inflammation and improve the gut. So when you fast, your body is burning the fat that you have in excess behavior. When you look at this, you got to look at number one, how am I going to get away from eating breakfast? Or some of you are already saying, well, I already don't eat breakfast. Well, you're putting in sugar in certain parts of your morning routine without even knowing it. You got to look at the creams and the different things that you put on your body. So fasting like this is simple. And here's the good thing about fasting. It saves you a bunch of money and a bunch of time. Number one, I don't have to cook breakfast. That's easy. I know it's a pain to cook breakfast, right? Or if you're like my family when I was a kid, breakfast was cornflakes, Cocoa Pebbles, Fruit Loops. I'm like, what the heck were you thinking, Mom? Who would ever give you cereal that has sugar in it along with the milk of an animal that's not even a human, it's a cow? We're gonna get into that in another topic, but here's the thing. Fasting such as this is super simple. Most of you are saying I can't do it. And a lot of you probably won't do it, but the ones who can, first of all, When you look at fasting, you're not doing it for a long period. You're eating still in 8 hours. During that 8 hours, you're eating with no or little grains. You're eating with healthy proteins, good animals, good fats, all the healthy things. And your energy will be more in the form of fat. So this is the goal. And then once you get this intermittent fasting down, then you do what I did. I was able to successfully harbor my skin issues with intermittent fasting. I did not get long-term changes until I stopped eating safely and effectively for 5 days. My goal is to go a lot longer because fasting is not only mental, it's also physical. And it's simple to do. All religions will show fasting helps to improve clarity of the mind. It's really important. Here's the thing. The do's for fasting is consistency. You got to do it every day consistent until your symptoms are no longer there. So with this, I do eat breakfast on Sunday with my son. Me and him go to the farmer's market Sunday mornings. We get our pasture-free organic eggs. We may even get some like free-range sustainable bacon. We may go get some different foods. We'll make some paleo pancakes. It's our time to have breakfast together because I'm not there in the morning at any other day. Now, the reason I started implementing that is I miss eating breakfast most days. Some days when I'm stressed, it is super hard not to eat breakfast. A lot of us are eating because it's our comfort, it's our crutch. It's the one thing when you're driving to work, you have Mr. Bag next to you and you're just eating the whole way. So when we look at this though, if I would have done that when I was still sick, I would not have gotten the results. So you have to do it consistency. You also got to read ingredients. If you're eating boxed foods, which in my opinion is just crazy, you should eat nothing that has ingredients on it, like an apple is an apple, an orange is an orange, chicken is chicken. Eat foods that you make yourself, and if you don't know how to cook, learn how to cook, get a cookbook, get an Instapot, something that makes it simple. You've got to get support from your loved ones. You will fail in your nutritional improvement if everyone in your household is not doing the same thing. 100%. If I went home and there were Twinkies in my pantry, I would chow down on some Twinkies. If I went home and there was donuts in my house, I would eat donuts. I used to love donuts. Pastries were my #1 cheat meal. Now I don't permit it because it scares the heck out of me. What if my son saw me eating that? We can't have him eating donuts. So you got to get support from others and you got to prepare. This is a huge step for most of you, but it will turn into a lifestyle area. When I am going on vacation with friends who are consistent with my lifestyle, it's normal. First thing we do when we land is we get the car, we go straight to Whole Foods, we buy our own food, and we make all of our own meals. I never go on vacation where I'm going to depend on a restaurant to make me healthy food. Not only is it because it's crazy expensive, but it's also just not sustainable. Now what you don't want to do, and what will make this dangerous, is if you consume sugar. Sugar and fasting do not go hand in hand. It's super important. If I were to wake up this morning planning not to eat until 12 or 1 o'clock, and honestly, since I'm doing this workshop, I'm probably going to go a little bit longer and just not eat lunch and then go into dinner. And on another workshop, we'll talk about different fasting, 18-hour, 24, 36, 72. There's a lot of different fasting mechanisms, but sugar is a no-go 100%. Make sure you read ingredients. No snacking. If you get hungry, you cannot snack. You can't have that binge meal beforehand too. Before you start doing this, if you're like, I'm gonna go out, have a bunch of wine, eat a bunch of bread, guess what you're gonna crave the next morning? A bunch of bread and a bunch of wine. And if you notice this, and I notice this, if I drink wine one night, even though I may not eat any bad foods, if I drink some wine, my body will crave sugar the next day. And my sugar cravings are pastries and bread. Yours may be something different else, something else like chocolate chip cookies, something else. Now, no unhealthy meals, which means you don't get a fast and say, oh, well, I didn't eat breakfast, so I'm gonna eat McDonald's on the way home. Well, even if you kick out the bun, no go. Healthy food, healthy meals. Also, don't tell everyone that you're doing this stuff. You wanna tell the people who are supportive, but you all have that one person in the office who knows it all, who you tell something, oh, well, I know 10 other things to do. Keep those things to yourself until you're able to argue your point successfully. I like to tell everyone, because I love to argue my point. I love to tell people what I do with my son's health and my family's health. I love to tell people that I had a baby at home. I love to tell OBs, medical doctors, nurses. I love that challenge because everyone gets to the same consistency, is that education is important. So when we do fasting, be careful on how you do this. Now, we gotta talk about some fasting fluids, okay? Fasting fluids are huge, and this is how you make stuff super, super simple when you are fasting. When you're fasting, ghee. Ghee is one of my favorite things. So ghee is like in this bottle right here. Ghee is clarified butter. Clarified butter comes from grass-fed, organic, sustainable cows. This is like liquid gold. It is a supplement in a bottle, and it's an expensive supplement. For this, it's about like $95 for this little thing. And this, in my house, is not gonna last very long. Now, $100 may seem like a lot to most of you, but here's the thing. If you guys go out to a restaurant, you'll blow 60 bucks with 2 meals and a drink. This is not something, you just have to manage your income differently on health versus other areas. This is so important because it is a short chain fat, which means it's broken down very quickly and very consistently. I take ghee and I also cook with it because ghee has a high threshold for heat. I can turn my temperature up on my stove to like 420 degrees and the fat won't break apart. So if any of you are cooking with like vegetable oil or other oils that have a low boiling temperature, you turn the heat up too high, that fat will denature, break its bonds, and now it's a trans fat. Now it doesn't process in your body the right way. But I also use this for my coffee in the morning. I take 4 tablespoons. Now here's the thing. You may not do 4 because if you're trying to lose weight, 500 calories first thing in the morning will be processed properly. But here's the thing. The reason you don't ever count calories in, calories out, it's not a sink. Our bodies are clogged up with cellular congestion. Ghee being a short chain fat, your body will digest it very quickly. Now you can use butter, like Kerrygold butter, you can use MCT oil, you can use coconut oil, you can buy the expensive bulletproof coffee, you can have keto coffee. You put fats in your coffee because the fats give you energy. And that's why I'm like on level 10 right now, is because when I eat fats in the morning, my body's burning fats, and then when the fats from the ghee go away, my body then takes the fat from around my organs and it uses it for energy. So I'm burning fat right now even though I haven't eaten anything. So ghee, in my opinion, I get this directly from the wholesaler, the person who makes it. This woman, Mama Sativa, this company is phenomenal. She is the #1 company I feel for ghee. It's amazing, it's sold at Whole Foods. I get this delivered to my office because I love it so much, and I have it for members in my office. My goal is to get you this stuff at a very low cost because I know money is always a variable. Now the second thing is kombucha. Kombucha is awesome. I was planning on drinking this today, but I've been talking too much. So kombucha is awesome. If y'all haven't tried kombucha, #1, you're probably saying, it tastes gross, I don't like the flavor, Don't be negative, just drink it, all right? Now, when I look at this also, I'm always like, come on, yes.
I have a question though.
Yes.
Why to try it, what are the benefits?
Oh my God, so the benefits are huge. #1 is that the benefits of kombucha is that like ancient Chinese call this like the health elixir, all right? Kombucha is a live and living drink, which means there's like little itty bitty guys swimming all around this. Now, y'all are taught that bacteria is bad, right? Oh my gosh, I wash my hands, don't let bacteria touch me. You've got more bacteria in your body than you know what to do with it. You just want the good bacteria. Kombucha is this, and I'll get into your question in just a moment. Kombucha has live and living probiotics. This thing right here per serving has what? There's 1 billion, 2 billion, so 2 billion areas of organisms per 8 ounces. This is live and living. You'll see this cloudy, murky stuff. It's naturally carbonated. This is a live and living drink. It's like consuming live food like kimchi, sauerkraut. They're live and living fermented drinks. So what happens is you have a SCOBY, which is a symbiotic colony of yeast and bacteria. This bacteria interacts with green tea, black tea, and sugar. Now I know I'm against sugar, right? But you need the sugar to ferment the yeast. Then what happens is they start to mix together. And the kombucha helps to relax the actual digestive system. It provides you with a live and living organism. It helps to replace the microbiome in your gut that is already damaged. So kombucha, in a combination with other healthy things, are really good. The sugar content is very low, less than a few grams per serving. Kombucha is live and living, which is the biggest thing. You have to be drinking live, living food. So kombucha, in my opinion, should be drinking every day. And you can look up the improvements. Kombucha is a fasting fluid because it gives you energy. Just like the ghee and coffee is a fasting fluid, just like my other favorite, which is bone broth. So the kombucha has health effects with the gut, has health effects also with probiotics, okay? So those are the two main things. But then the bone broth also has super good healthy areas. It has collagen, it has gelatin, has glycerin, it has good stuff inside of it. So when we look at broth, we're not talking stock that is shelf stable at the grocery store. We're talking broth coming from vegetables or from the marrow of bones. It has minerals that are essential, things like calcium and magnesium. You use this and it also has small traces of protein. You use this to help coat the digestive system. It helps to clog up the holes that you may have from a leaky gut. What's also important is that this stuff helps to replace the cartilage in your joints. So when we look at these fluids, when you're fasting, you can consume. First thing I do in the morning is consume bone broth. Every single morning for the past 2 years, I have drinking bone broth with the goal of coating my digestive system to make it healthier. I make my own, and that's a different discussion. I drink kombucha, not in the morning, but I do that in the afternoon. But I drink my ghee and my coffee every single morning as well. So what I do with this is that I want to give myself a little energy. I've got to work a busy 2-hour shift first thing in the morning. I got to be attentive. So anybody who gets adjusted here before 12, I have not eaten breakfast every one of those times. I still have lots of energy, lots of vigor, and that's the big thing is that we were going to be discussing some things with the exercise that we're not going to get into, but just focus on this. If you have questions about the fasting fluids after this, come touch bases with me. Now, we're not going to talk about toxicity because we just ran out of time, but here's the thing. If you're eating non-organic meats, you're toxic. If you're eating boxed foods, you're toxic. If you're eating plastic containers, you're toxic. If you're using regular cleaning, I heard this new thing that people are taking these like Tide things. Well, first of all, what the heck are you washing your clothes with stuff that's having issues with kids putting in their body? Use natural detergents, and I don't know if that would still be a good idea, but don't follow the crazy things that people are doing on Facebook. But if you're using regular stuff like home dishwasher soap that's really toxic and has on the back of it, if swallowed, call poison control, probably not the best idea to put into your body. Also Teflon nonstick cookware, drinking water. If you guys aren't using a water filter at home, and please don't tell me that you're using a water filter inside the refrigerator, that is not a water filter. That is not something that works for taking out all the chlorine, the fluoride, all the different trace minerals. And believe me, when most of our country is taking medication, and then I think everyone in our country goes to the bathroom, and then most of our water is recycled, and guess what you all get out of the tap water? Now, I don't get it out of the tap water because I have a water filter that takes that stuff out, but you all are taking your neighbor's medication and drinking it every single day. So you might want to make sure that you get some drinking water that's really healthy. Plus our city, especially here in West Sacramento, they love chlorine, they love a bunch of other things to make sure that their pipes are nice and healthy. Now here's the biggest thing. You can eat healthy and exercise every day. You can eat perfect. There's a lot of variables. I had talked to you about how my nervous system was functioning, but obviously not at 100% because my nervous system was not overcoming the bacteria and viruses that were plaguing my health. But understand this, the only reason as a chiropractor I work with your spine and find it to be so important to analyze your spine from the day that you're born until the day that you die is that your bones in your spine protect the spinal cord, which is the only way your brain communicates with every organ and muscle and tissue in your body. So every segment of your bone houses nerves, and those nerves control organs. They controls your pancreas, controls your liver, controls your heart. And what happens is if your spine shifts out of alignment, it puts pressure on the nerve. We call that subluxation. The only way to analyze for subluxation is truly by taking an x-ray. If you or someone in your family does not have x-rays of their spine, that's crazy in my thought process. The reason why is that if your spine is not in this healthy alignment, it's going to put pressure on your nervous system. That means that your brain will not communicate or control your organs at 100%. If your organs aren't functioning at 100%, they will express a symptom. When that symptom is expressed, you go to your medical doctor. That doctor looks at that symptom, categorizes it into a disease, and now you take a medication to harbor your disease. get to the cause of the problem and correct it. Because in all reality, you can go a month without food. I wouldn't recommend anything over 21 days myself, but you can if you're stranded on a desert island a whole month without food, you're not gonna die. You can go days without water. You can hold your air for minutes. You cannot go 1 second without nerve function. So if I cut the nerve that controls your heart will stop functioning 100% regardless of your belief system. Now instead of cutting that nerve, which is disconnecting that area 100%, if I pinch that nerve, your brain will not communicate to that organ 100%. So when we look at this, you gotta look at these warning signs. If you know someone who has ear infections, a child, most kids who have ear infections, the medications work so well that they've had 4 or 5 and are about to get tubes in their ears. And then somebody says chiropractic's crazy. Let's look at logic. If it doesn't work one time, let's try some different things to see if it helps to improve. If you get constipation, get sick all the time, attention issues, acid reflux, neck pain, high blood pressure, these are all warning signs that your nervous system is not functioning properly. Now when we look at this stuff starts from birth. The first thing that my son got after the umbilical cord was cut, like 30 minutes after his birth, was an adjustment to his neck. Now I didn't take his neck and twist it to the left and crack his neck. I adjusted his spine the way that an infant should. And here's the thing, the reason I did this, and this is not my son, but that's a cute little baby, is that when we look at it, they've done studies to show that most children who are born, even vaginal births, are super traumatic. Now let's put into account that you had medication when you had a child, which means you had an epidural, you had Pitocin. Well, you took your body out of the equation and your doctors pulled that child out. If you were laying on your back instead of in a squatting position, there was pressure on that child. Now, even in a home environment, birth is super traumatic. You've got to check these kids first thing when they're born. And here's the reason is, why do they look at their ears, their nose, their eyes, their throat? Why do they not judge the nervous system on the APGAR score? I don't know. If I was in that situation, I'd definitely look at it. This is why, if you know kids who are having issues, chiropractic for kids is so important to me. I spent 2 additional years studying how to adjust children. I did this because I had always been taught how to take care of healthy kids. Who can't take care of a healthy kid, right? But it's the ones who start to exhibit symptoms that are very difficult. So if you know someone who has a kid who's having health issues, don't use medicine for children unless it's a crisis. But here's the thing, corrective care. A lot of you have had initial x-rays done. Some of you have already gone through corrective care, now you're on to retainer care. When you look at x-rays though, they have to be managed appropriately. Your spine is super important. If you don't have the curve in your neck, it will choke off your spinal cord like a vice grip around your neck. The thing is though, is that if you do not correct this and you maintain it, you don't do your rehab, you don't show up to your appointments, you will get less than perfect results. The goal is that after this, you want to see unhealthy, healthy, before, after, good, better. Here's the thing, you always want to make sure that your spine improves. So with this, there are other doctors who do this. For me, I drive 45 minutes to the closest doctor who does what I do. And that's unfortunate because I wish that every chiropractor did this. The biggest thing is that if you know someone who needs to get their spines checked, get them with an appointment. It's not about the cost at first, because when I do an event like this, I offer an opportunity for 40 bucks to get their first evaluation done. Do the exam, do the x-rays, and then sit down and review your health potential. I do this because cost is always a variable. So if you know somebody who needs this, even though they're not here today, take advantage of it and we'll work through it. But the nervous system, in my opinion, is one of the most important areas. So for all of those who, we breezed through this really quickly, and I always thought that I would end on time, and I still didn't go over a bunch of topics, but here's the thing. We're gonna post this on YouTube. You guys go onto our Facebook page, you'll find the link on there, go back and watch this. I am also committing in front of all of you to give live updates on the topics that we discussed. So over the next 30 days, we're gonna be doing daily inserts on nutrition, on how-to, on exercise, on all these variables that you guys are gonna have questions with. So go onto our Facebook page, go onto our YouTube page, like what we're doing and share it with others in the community. Get your family members checked, and if you have questions, come by and ask me. I wanna share those who wanna learn about the ghee and all the fun stuff, the kombucha, if you guys wanna try. I haven't even put my lips on this so we can share some kombucha in good style. And we won't break bread because we don't eat bread in this office, but we'll have some kombucha. And for those who want to enjoy this day, we will see you later. Thank you. And we have our next event coming up in 4 weeks. We are going to talk about the fat diet. So I'm going to talk to you about how to get as much healthy fat into your diet on a daily basis, how to cook cookies, how to bake cakes, all this fun stuff with all fat, no grains. It'll be consistent with what we're teaching here in the office today. All right?
One note, don't shake your kombucha.
Oh,
just
no, no,
open.
no.
I
Yes,
did
it's,
that.
yeah, don't shake it until you can turn that off. If you shake your kombucha, it will go everywhere. It's like shaking Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
This is natural